So, um, Scott Jagodzinski, for many people that don't know him, is a multiple-time business owner. He has built and sold a number of businesses. He is the CEO of a company right now that actually
Sure.
only takes up part of your time, not all of your time, hence why you are working on some other initiatives. Um, Scott Jagodzinski, I welcome you here. Based on what I just said, you know, if they believe what you believe, then, that's the real connection. So I'm going to ask you, my whole concept about gas, right? Give a shit. So Mr. Jagodzinski, what do you really give a shit about?
Well, I don't know if you remember a few years ago. Oh, by the way, a correction. I'm chairman of a company, not CEO right now. So
Thank you
just
for the correction.
quick correction. There was a graphic a few years ago that was circulating that I think sums up what what I'm all about. And there's a circle of picture up here, your comfort zone, and another circle over here where the magic happens. And so the whole idea is you got to get out of your comfort zone for anything in life, meeting a person, starting a business, uh, going on a vacation. I mean, nothing happens unless you get out of your comfort zone.
So
So,
why is it though, Scott? Because that is my life, and that every time I do that, magic happens. Right? I just did a whole lecture series on servant leadership. It made me very uncomfortable because I never gave the lecture. I was told by people close to me not to do it. I did it, and it's opened up doors that I can't even begin to tell you. So why is it, Scott? Because we both know that is a truth. It is a universal truth. What is it that drives you to do that? Where do you think that comes from inside
you
you?
know, I always say I'm a recovering financial guy, and I kind of trace it to risk and reward go hand in hand. So if you don't take risk, there is no reward. So the more risk you take, the more rewards you're going to get. So, I mean, I think that's why you're feeling that is you took a risk and you're getting a reward. And more often than not, when you do that, you do get rewards, sometimes outsized rewards. So I think that's kind of why it works.
Yeah, but Scott, isn't it true that when you take a risk, the chances of failing are pretty high? And I'm still want to dig further on this with you, if you don't mind. What is it? Why did you start taking more risks? Where did that come from? Why did you start doing this? Because financial people don't like risk.
hmm Yeah, I think for me, probably, I don't do well with following other people's rules and other people's structures. And so, where I enjoy myself more is where there are blank sheets of paper and less rules. And just that's inherently risky because it's not defined. You're kind of blazing your own trail. Or if there is a trail, you're going to pave and gutter it. So it's like, I think that's why I'm personally drawn to it is it's just it's less is known, which means there's more chance for discovery, more chance for learning. And yeah, you're going to scrape your knees and bang your elbows and things like that. But my experience, that's almost never fatal. It's like the fear of it is way greater than the reality of it.
Oh my
So
God, that's gold right there. It's almost never fatal.
yeah,
I think people think failing is fatal.
hmm
It's basically all it is a lesson learned, is it not?
yeah. If you're paying attention, it's a little lesson learned. Yeah.
So let's go back. So was there a previous part of your life where you were risk averse
Um,
more
you know,
often than not? Or was this kind of in your blood from the beginning?
I think it was in my blood from the beginning. I mean, my family moved from Minneapolis to a small town in North Dakota when I was 9, and if I wanted any change in my pocket, I had to go out and earn it. So I started selling stuff, knocking on doors, door to door, at age 9. And so when you're doing that, you kind of start realizing that if you want something, you got to go get it. If you got to go get it, you're going to have to take some risks. I don't think I thought of it as risk taking back then. It was just more, hey, if I want to go play pinball, I need some quarters. How do I get quarters? That's literally how I remember thinking about it as a kid. And that just kind of progressed into starting a business in high school where we sold T-shirts. It was classic kind of teenager business. I worked at a clothing store and we did a class T-shirt and sold some products, and you'd make a little margin on it. And then I sold in a men's clothing store, so there's commission, And when those stores were empty, you had to pick up the phone and call people to drive traffic in. And so I think I was just kind of in an environment where you had to go out and make it happen. Otherwise, I had a job for about 3 weeks working as a fry cook at a Hardee's. And there's a reason I lasted 3 weeks. It was just like, for me, mind numbing of, just rinse and repeat and follow somebody else's instructions. And so anyway, it was like, I've had a number of those little jobs in my younger years where it's like, put it on your not to do list, and on your to do list, it's like more that blank sheet of paper.
Yet, Scott, our economy, your businesses run on people that can do that kind of work.
Yeah, it's just like, that's just for me. It's like, you might
Right.
like salmon, I might like steak. It's like, I think it's all figuring out what your tastes are. Yeah, the world would end if we were all entrepreneurs now taking risks, because where do we get our Chipotle?
So, message to the audience: just because this sounds like a great thing to do, we need you, and that doesn't mean you're less than us. It just means what you want out of your life.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one thing I've always learned is I don't judge anybody for where they are in life. That's their choice, right? I
Well,
found some of the greatest moms and the greatest fathers in the world are people who go to their job and they do the same thing every day and they come back home,
no,
right?
completely. Where I think, I don't know if the word judge is right, but where I feel, I guess, sad for people is if they're not happy with their life and they're not doing something about it.
Now
That to
that's a
me,
whole other conversation, right? So,
well, but I
this
think,
is, go ahead.
but I was gonna say that I think that's when some people say they're unhappy in their jobs. Well, okay, so why are you doing it every day? Back to where the magic happens. You can just mindlessly go through life, rinse and repeat, and have a 30-year career where every year is the same. Or you can recognize that and start again taking some small
Absolutely.
risks, So
Did you ever see the that inspirational talk by Steve Harvey on jumping?
I don't think so.
You have to jump. I'll send it to you and I'll put it in the Slack channel. Um, Essentially what he teaches is exactly what you're talking about is you can't fly. You can't get to your dream place unless you jump.
Hmm.
You've got to jump. And when you jump, he says your parachute's not going to open right away. You may get scuffed up,
Hmm.
right? But you'll never get to where you want in life unless you just jump.
Hmm.
And that's essentially what you're saying. And you're saying what I find very interesting is that was natural for you. Nobody taught that to you. That was just your internal drive, right?
Yeah,
And go
yeah.
ahead.
I think it was internal, but I also think it was kind of I think it was nature too. I was in an environment where the options were somewhat limited. So if you wanted something, you had to go make it happen. So I think it was a combination of, I'm just wired to take hills. It's just it's kind of what I'm wired to do. But I think the necessity, I always say, like, if I would have had a trust fund at age 20, I would have been a total failure. So I've always been the guy that needs a little necessity to get me going. And so I just think I had the right environment for that.
So um, there's one other aspect of you that I really enjoy. And I think that's why you're in the group and that's why you're a member, is that while you're driven, while you take chances, while you're uncomfortable, you have a much more servant leadership mindset to empower people around you, to actually make them future leaders. That is a huge part of how you run your companies. Where did that come from? Was that also natural? Is that something you practice to be better at? Where did that come from within you?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. I don't know, to be honest. I think I just get a kick out of sharing stuff I've learned or experienced, and especially when it's new to me, to get feedback and to see how people respond to it. So I actually working with a couple different local entrepreneurs, just informally trying to figure out if there's a there. And it's just fun seeing, again, kind of, they tend to be younger minds. They don't know what they don't know, but what they do know, they're really focused and sharp on. And I feel like with them, it's fun to just fill in some blanks. Like I said, hey, let me help you avoid the mistakes of just kind of just lack of experience. Make original mistakes. Let me help you avoid some of these that are just easy to avoid. And so I don't know. I mean, I think it's just partly. I kind of just buy into the whole, if you put it out in the universe, it's going to come back to you. So if you're not putting stuff out there, how can you expect anything to come back to you? So,
So in other words, that's the very karmic, you know, view of the world, and that was obviously a part of you, also a part of you, who you are as a person. And based on, I know, some of the things, initiatives you're working on, where you could offer your services as a kind of part-time CEO, never mind a new startup you're trying to build on your own. Um, the reason why I ask these questions of you is, you know, something I always say is, if you narrow it down, let's say you're looking for a CEO or a CFO, and you go through hundreds of people and then hundreds of resumes and hundreds of people who referred you people, and you narrow it down to two people, right?
mm-hmm,
I guarantee you those two people can get you to the promised land. The question is, sir, how are they going to get you there? Is it going to be in a way that you want? You are aligned with how the journey they're going to take you on. Are they going to be miserable? Are they more the servant leader type? You know, what's the way in which they're going to get you there? And that's what I'm trying to pull from you is, I think, you know, I want them to know that, yes, Scott Jagodzinski has built and sold successful businesses. If they want to work with Scott Jagodzinski, this is how it's going to roll, right?
mm-hmm,
You can
yeah,
get them there. So can the next guy that has experience, right? But this is how you're going to get them there. You know,
mm-hmm.
what is the, and if I haven't asked the question um, about something that I'm also trying to pull from you, what maybe have I missed? What is another very strong character trait in you, in what you think is different in how you get companies there versus others?
Yeah, I think one of the things is, I'm not good at playing politics, so I'm a straight shooter. I call BS, and if I'm wrong, I'll admit I'm wrong. But I've got a pretty good spidey sense on when things aren't right in companies, and I've actually was just updating my LinkedIn profile and my resume, and one of the things, I can't remember which one I have in there, but I said, on the boards I've been on, I've always been the guy to call out the pink elephant and just, hey, am I the only guy here that sees this problem? And because they tend to be, I don't know, the boards I've been on, there tends to be not be a lot of conflict, and I think conflict's good. It doesn't Conflict's not
Oh
negative.
my
It's like,
God.
and so I think that's partly
Great.
what I love. I love doing it. I love mixing it up, because that's, again, out of the comfort zone. We've got a shot at making some magic here.
So what you do, I'm so glad I asked you this. So Bill Mero, my business partner, and we created this like sign, and it was the word right, RIGHT, and it looked like a traffic sign with a round circle with a red line coming across. And what we said, and Bill and I went at it this morning. We went at it at 6:15 this morning. And what we have, this philosophy is, I'll fight you on it, but I'm not attached to being right. I'm attached to finding what right is.
Mm-hmm.
And I think
Yeah.
that's what you're telling me is,
Well, yeah.
is that correct?
Yeah. The phrase I heard from a woman I worked with at a company called Go Kart Labs. She had a great line. I don't know if it's original to her, but it was, fall in love with the problem, not the solution. And it's just a great way to keep your mind open to not just defaulting to an answer, but figuring out what is the problem you're trying to solve, because there's always multiple solutions to any problem. And so I think,
Exactly. But see, but what you're saying is, you're willing to get in the fight. And I don't mean it has to be nasty and ugly, a constructive fight, a
mhm,
constructive, you know, um, and I think too few people, I'm finding in companies, especially small business owners, they don't understand the value of this.
mhm.
That it's okay to fight for something you believe in, but you don't attach yourself to being right. Attach yourself, like you said, to the problem.
Yeah, well,
So
exactly. And I think in early stage companies, they tend to be driven a lot by optimism. And I'm the guy that will say, like, hey, it's never too early to strategically panic. I mean, sometimes, because you might run out of money. So we got to have plan A, B, and C going at one time. Um, and so I think that's part of it, is it's a combination of being realistic, and optimistic, but also like saying, let's stop here. Are we breathing our own exhaust here? Is there another way we can approach this thing? And really kind of try to pursue that.
I love it. So, Scott, why don't you give our audience just a quick snippet of what you're doing, what you're trying to create, and how they can get in contact with you.
Okay, cool. So I guess my side gig, I don't golf or do anything like that. My side gig is a number 629 on the Inc. 5000 fastest growing companies, a company called Alchemy 365. 7 locations in 2 states. We're starting a Series A. So if you're in private equity, venture capital, or family office, and you're interested in learning more about a high growth boutique fitness concept, that'd be a reason to talk to me. I'm also looking at relocating to Phoenix and finding a company to run, either starting something with a group, or if there's a company that's gotten stuck and needs new leadership or new help or new ideas. I love doing that, and I think I'm pretty decent at it.
You
That'd
are.
be another that'd be another reason to talk to me.
Well, you have
And
a
then,
track record, right?
yeah, and it's like,
Which we could talk about, but I don't want to make this a long interview. My suggestion to the audience is, trust me, he has a track record. If you know somebody looking for a very progressive leader type, because that's how I would describe you, a more progressive servant leader type with a track record, then they've got to get a hold of Scott Jagodzinski. So how would they get a hold of you, Scott?
so Scott at jagodzinski.net is my email address. SCOTT at JAGOD as a David ZINSKI.net, or mobile 612-386-0688.
And also Scott Jagodzinski, same spelling in LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
You're tuning that up as I understand.
Yep.
It's always good to keep tuning up our LinkedIn. I do all the time. I think, by the way, that's a great tip for our audience. What most people are doing today is slightly different than what you were doing a couple of years ago, or even 6 months ago. And you should always update your LinkedIn profile, because we live in such a highly interconnected world, and that doors could be opened for you just by having the right information online. So good for you that you're updating it. Thank you so much for being our member spotlight. I will tell you this, we still haven't yet reached critical mass with the Secret Sauce Society nor online. When we do, I will be sure to bring you back. So thank you for coming in at an early stage. I will take a look at that deck that you sent me. And Scott, thanks so much for making time in a pinch for me. I really appreciate it. I connect with you, the person you are, not just the leader that you are. I have mass respect. And I am so glad that we got to sit next to each other that day at 1 Million Cups at Galvanize, and then bump into you at La Grande Orange here in Phoenix. So I know we're going to be friends for a long time. I thank you. And for those that know how they can help Scott, because that's what we're about, knows a company that needs a great leader to come in and help them grow their company in the way that he would do it, get in touch with him. Have a great weekend. Scott, I appreciate you.
Hey, thanks, buddy. I appreciate all you do. Thanks.
Take care.